Sometimes, the best performances are the ones where you completely forget you're watching an actor. These 10 straight actors stepped into LGBTQ+ roles and made them unforgettable through their chemistry, vulnerability, and sheer commitment to the character. So let's take a look at the performances that made us forget who was behind the role. Before Ewan McGregor became Obi-Wan Kenobi, he was already proving just how fearless he could be as an actor. In Velvet Goldmine, McGregor stepped into the glittering, chaotic world of glam rock as Kurt Wilde, a rebellious performer inspired partly by rock legends like Iggy Pop. The role was bold, unpredictable, and completely unlike the image many audiences would later associate with him. But that wasn't his only memorable turn. Years later, he played Philip Morris in I Love You, Philip Morris, bringing a surprisingly tender and vulnerable quality to a man caught in an extraordinary love story. And then came Halston, where McGregor took on the challenge of portraying the legendary fashion designer himself. He studied Halston's mannerisms, voice, physicality, clothing, and even learned aspects of the designer's craft to make the transformation feel authentic. From glam rock rebellion to a deeply romantic character, McGregor has shown just how different an LGBTQ+ role can look when the actor disappears completely into the person. Colin Firth has played many memorable characters, but his LGBTQ+ roles reveal a much quieter side of his acting. In A Single Man, he plays George Falconer, a professor grieving the loss of his longtime partner. His restrained performance earned him an Oscar nomination and turned what could have been a simple story about grief into something deeply personal. Years later, Firth returned to the genre in Supernova, playing Sam, a musician traveling with his longtime partner as they face a devastating change in their lives. What's remarkable is how naturally Firth lets these characters simply be men in love, rather than making their sexuality the focus. Two very different stories, but both prove just how much Firth can say without saying a word. Brendan Fraser gave audiences a performance that completely changed the way many people saw him as an actor. In The Whale, Fraser plays Charlie, a reclusive English professor trying to reconnect with his teenage daughter while carrying years of grief, regret, and loneliness. What makes the performance so powerful is that Fraser never treats Charlie as just one thing. He's a father, a teacher, a man who is loved deeply, and someone desperately hoping for one last chance to make things right. Fraser's transformation was extraordinary, but it was the emotion underneath it that truly stayed with audiences. The performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor in 2023. It wasn't just a transformation you could see, it was one you could feel. Nicholas Galitzine may be best known today as Prince Henry, but his journey through LGBTQ+ roles started long before that royal romance. In Handsome Devil, he played a closeted rugby star struggling to be himself in a school where fitting in matters more than individuality. Then came The Craft, Legacy, where he surprised audiences as a character who discovers and embraces his bisexuality. But Red, White, and Royal Blue took his career to another level, with Galitzine bringing Prince Henry's vulnerability and guarded nature to life opposite Taylor Zahar Perez. And in Mary and George, he went in a completely different direction, portraying George Villiers, a young man who learns to use his sexuality and charm as a source of power. For very different characters, but one thing connects them. Galitzine knows how to make vulnerability impossible to ignore. Some performances stay with you because of how much the actor says. Heath Ledger's performance in Brokeback Mountain is unforgettable because of how much he leaves unsaid. As Ennis Del Mar, Ledger created a character who struggles to express feelings he can barely understand himself. His quiet manner, restrained body language, and that unmistakable voice made Ennis feel incredibly real. Ledger didn't treat Ennis as a stereotype. He built him as a complicated man shaped by fear, love, and the world around him. The performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, along with major critics awards. And even after all these years, Ennis remains one of those characters you don't simply remember, you feel him. Before we continue, if you enjoy Pride Reviews and want to support the channel, you can become a member and join our little community. Link is below the video description. Bradley Cooper's LGBTQ+ roles may look completely different on the surface, but there's one thing they have in common. He commits to them. Long before Maestro, Cooper played Ben in Wet Hot American Summer, a camp counselor whose attraction to another man becomes part of the film's wonderfully absurd comedy. Years later, he took on one of his most demanding transformations in Maestro, portraying legendary composer Leonard Bernstein and exploring the complicated relationships that shaped his life. Cooper spent years preparing for the role, working extensively on Bernstein's voice and conducting style, including training with professional conductors. From outrageous comedy to a deeply personal real-life portrait, Cooper proved he wasn't afraid to take on something completely different. Sterling K. Brown has a talent for making complicated characters feel completely human, and his LGBTQ+ roles are a perfect example. In The Normal Heart, Brown played Ned Weeks, an activist fighting for his community during the early AIDS crisis, bringing both anger and vulnerability to the character. Then came Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, where he took a very different direction as a closeted pastor caught between his public image and his private life. And in Biosphere, Brown explored yet another side of queer identity through a story that mixes friendship, science fiction, and unexpected change. Brown has said these projects allowed him to explore LGBTQ+ experiences from very different perspectives. 3 very different stories, 3 very different characters, and somehow, Brown makes each one feel like a real person rather than a stereotype. Hugh Grant spent years being known as the charming romantic comedy leading man, but some of his most fascinating performances took him somewhere completely different. In Maurice, Grant played Clive, a young man caught between his feelings and the expectations of his time. Decades later, he portrayed real-life politician Jeremy Thorpe in A Very English Scandal, bringing a very different mix of charm, secrecy, and complexity to the role. And there's something remarkable about seeing the same actor play 2 very different men, separated by more than 30 years of filmmaking. From a young man struggling with his identity to a powerful politician hiding a deeply complicated personal life, Hugh Grant proved there was much more to his range than the romantic hero we thought we knew. Josh O'Connor has a talent for making complicated characters feel incredibly real, and his LGBTQ+ roles show just how much range he has. His breakthrough came with God's Own Country, where he played Johnny, a lonely Yorkshire farmer whose life begins to change when he falls for a Romanian farm worker. O'Connor prepared intensely for the role, even working on a Yorkshire farm to understand the physical world Johnny lived in. Years later, challengers gave him something completely different. A complicated tennis player caught in a relationship full of attraction, rivalry, and unresolved feelings. And more recently, he starred opposite Paul Mescal in The History of Sound, playing David, a young man who falls in love during World War I. From a Yorkshire farm to a tennis court to wartime America, O'Connor keeps finding completely different ways to bring queer characters to life. If you know Alfonso Herrera from Sense8, you probably remember the warmth and chemistry he brought to Hernando and Lito's relationship. But Herrera's most challenging LGBTQ+ role came a few years later. In Dance of the 41, he portrayed Ignacio de la Torre, a real historical figure living a secret life in early 20th century Mexico. Herrera didn't try to make Ignacio simply heroic or sympathetic. He wanted to show him as a complicated, three-dimensional person shaped by the world around him. That performance earned Herrera the Ariel Award for Best Actor, one of Mexico's most prestigious film honors. From the heartfelt Hernando in Sense8 to the deeply complicated Ignacio, Herrera showed that LGBTQ plus characters can be just as layered and contradictory as anyone else. And that's what makes his performances so memorable. Want to see more LGBTQ plus performances? Watch the video on the left where we look at 10 actors who absolutely nailed their LGBTQ plus roles. And on the right, check out my breakdown of Matt Bomer's best gay performance. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.